So you want to ask the question again, April? That was a very good question, by the way. What was the question again?
I want to know when you're doing the logical soul process, when to switch to the money matrix questions, because that's where I got stuck with Teresa with her statements, and I didn't know to go to money matrix.
Right. Okay, very good. Excellent question, and I'm going to answer that. The simple reason for using the money matrix method is anything to do with money, obviously. For example, what you were working with Teresa with was valuing her services, as I recall. Right? And so not valuing services would have to do with getting money for what you do, wouldn't it? Would it not? So anything to do with business, anything to do with valuing services, anything to do with collections, anything to do with money, even directly or indirectly, I would definitely go to money matrix method first, simply because that procedure is laid out, it's spelled out for you, it's very simple to ask the questions, and you don't need to fumble around. It's basically all there. You with me? Okay. But it's a good question. And again, if anybody runs across something that has to do with value, has to do with business, has to do with anything in the marketplace, money matrix method is a very valuable tool to use for those particular issues. Now maybe you can clear it up real quickly, in which case then you can find out if there's anything else. But generally speaking, those are the issues you're going to deal with. And that will generally take a session. Does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you.
Excellent. Jeff, did you feel different when we tested you for access? How was that for you?
There's a lot of questions in my mind. How do we?
Yeah, how do we get past this thing? How do we get past the wall? Okay, getting past the wall. First of all, we don't get past the wall. We involve the wall. Okay? Getting past the wall is not going to happen. Just get it out of your mind. You ain't going to get past the wall. The wall is part of who you are. You're going to involve the wall. You're going to embrace the wall. Thank God for the wall. It's here.
At least there's something.
That's right. There's something here, and it's been my friend all these years. It saved me from Genghis Khan and the IRS and whoever else is coming after me. So now you want me to take that down and let all these dangerous things in? No, I can't do that. So the wall is there for a reason. It's there for a very good reason. And so to allow the wall to come down, you know how long it took the Soviet Union to allow the Berlin Wall to come down, right? It took a while. So how long does it take for the wall to come down? It could come down like that, or it could take a few sessions. It just depends on the person, and it depends on their needs, and it depends on the reasons for the wall being there. I wish I could be more specific than that, but that's about as specific as I can get. If you're doing the testing, access is available to change this program, and that's yes. And then I allow so-and-so access to change this program. That goes weak. That's a little simpler than there's no access at all. The first statement is true, but the second one is not. Access is available, but I don't allow, say, April to get access. I'm using April's example again. What do we do? Well, April, as a little kid or somebody, had somebody who could get access. And so what I do is I generally ask them to close their eyes and make that statement. Say, I'm worth $1 billion, or whatever the statement was that you're testing, and ask them to locate that in their body. Go to a place in your body, go to a place where you feel where that decision is lodged in your body. In other words, is there some place that you feel that in your body that when you make that statement? In other words, how many of you who make a certain statement or made certain statements or thought about certain things felt it in your body? You had this like gut reaction. You've heard of this expression, well, I had a gut reaction to his words or statement or something. Or as you get hit with a bolt of energy, you feel energy somewhere in your body. It could be a dull energy, it could be a sharp energy, it could be intense, it could be very subtle. But what you're doing is you're asking someone to feel it in their body. Is there some place in your body where you feel this sensation, Renee? And Renee says yes. I say, well, where would you feel that?
I feel it on my shoulder. Right?
He feels it in his shoulder. Okay. All right, I want you to close your eyes, Renee, and I want you to have that statement. Go back to the very first time you remember feeling that sensation. The very first time you remember having that sensation. And what you actually want to do is ask them to intensify that feeling as much as possible. So what I want you to do, Renee, is intensify that feeling in your shoulder as much as you can stand it. And go back to the very first time you remember. It may not be the first time, but the first time you remember having that pain in your shoulder?
I'm carrying the movie camera. On
Okay,
the
well,
trip to
just
Germany.
play along with me. Okay, just.
I was.
Oh, sorry.
I was carrying the movie camera on the trip to Germany.
Oh, okay. Okay. How old were you?
I was, what was I, about 10?
About 10. Okay. All right. So, all right, let's just say that's the example. All right, let's just say you felt that on his shoulder, he's carrying the movie camera, and this relates to his issue, which is...
I don't know what the issue is.
Well, the issue was I choose to be an ostrich. He really wants to be an ostrich. So we're testing him. That's just an example. It's not real. Okay.
No, I don't want to be an ostrich.
So we're just having fun at Renee's expense here.
Although I may have already been one
Okay,
today.
that's true. All right, so we're going back. What was the first time you remember feeling that time? It may not be the first time. The first time you remember feel. So you're carrying a camera. You're 10 years old, going to Germany. All right, Renee, I want you to close your eyes. Go back to that time. Go back to that little kid who's carrying that camera. And what's going on? Why are you feeling that? Are you resenting that? Is it
It's
hurt?
not resentment. It's that I feel that I have to fulfill this because my dad gave me the camera and said,
Oh,
you
okay.
have to carry the camera and
feeling
take
of-
care of it. And
Okay,
it's your
so
responsibility.
being an ostrich means you have to take on all this responsibility.
That's exactly what it is.
Okay. Having taken on the responsibility of being an ostrich, so therefore you felt this, and this is what it feels like. So go back to that little kid, Renee, and ask if you can help that little kid carry that camera. And tell these other people, leave him alone. Take that camera, take that burden from him, carry it for him.
That's
and,
right. And I'm talking to my dad too.
That's right.
Why'd you go put that on?
Yeah, why did you do that to that kid? So just take it from him. Go back and rescue your kid, basically. And if the kid's being abused, you go back, take them from that place, or you tell the parents to just stop whatever they're doing. The next thing you want to say is get down to that kid, look him in the eye, and say, "Little April or little Renee, I'm so sorry. I left you all alone. I apologize leaving you here all by yourself. Please forgive me." And you can use those words. Please forgive me. I will not abandon you anymore. Once you let the little kid know that you're going to be there and you're not going to go anywhere. In other words, you realize that you've been gone from this kid. He's carrying that camera all by himself. He's been doing it forever and ever. He's still doing it, and he's still watching you over there, just sort of like trying to do things. And you're wondering why he can't support you in your goal of being an ostrich. Well, the reason why is because he's burdened with something, and you need your help. So when you go back and save him from that and take that camera and help him out and tell whoever's telling him to do that to stop it, you're saving that kid. Basically, it's like John Bradshaw's process of saving the inner child. Everybody remembers Bradshaw's work on that. Not much different than that. You're going back basically saving your child. Very effective. It works. It usually works, and it's effective. The difference between this work and Bradshaw's work is you're not going to have your child hug teddy bears and then come out and feel a lot better about yourself. What's going to happen in the final phase, in the resolution phase, is that you're going to make a new decision about this situation, whatever that was. And you're not making the decision, by the way. The child is going to make the decision. Getting access to that child simply means the child allowed you, as an adult, to come back and talk to the child. That's all
I
access.
thought that your explanation was if you had access, but the client did not have access. But what you were just describing is if the client did have access. So I wanted to make that clear. Did I hear that wrong, or?
Oh, okay. Access is available? Yes. I allow Renee access to change this program. Did I say no?
You
said no.
No.
You said no, and then you went on to explain. I was
Oh,
like, oh, wait,
okay,
they're going to get
okay.
confused
Yeah,
here.
what I just described, I'm sorry, what I just described is a process that you do when both are true. I
Okay.
apologize. Okay, thanks for clearing that up for me.
Sure, I'm like sitting there like, wait a minute.
Yeah, what I just described is a process that you use when both statements are true. Access is available, I allow Renee access. Okay. When you get in the first statement is true, access is available, I do not allow Renee access, then you have to find out who does have access. The process is the same. You close your eyes, find out where in the body you feel that pain. Okay. What confused me was that normally if he feels the pain in his body, that means that pretty much the child is there and the conscious mind does have access. Usually if that's the case, if it's in the body, generally speaking, the conscious mind does have access because, not always. Okay, let's just say he felt it in his shoulder. let's go into the circumstance where he doesn't have conscious access. Close your eyes, Renee. Go into that, feeling where you're going back to the very first time you felt this. Ask the child, and this is the distinction. Thanks for helping me clear that up. The distinction is ask the child who he or she wants to come in to help him or her. Okay, in Renee's case, who does the child allow in to carry that burden, to take care of that problem for him? Because it's obvious the child doesn't trust Renee as an adult.
I'm getting kind of lost now too, because
Okay.
as I recall all this and how I practice it in the session is, I have access to this program. I give Renee access to this program. That could be true or false, not terrible big deal. Then comes the next question. I allow little Renee access to this program.
No, I don't use that statement. No, that's not valid. Little Renee is the one speaking throughout the whole conversation. When you're muscle testing, you're talking to little Renee the whole time. You with me?
Okay.
That's who we're talking to. You don't need
Where
to,
did the
you don't
inner
need to
child
make a
even
distinction.
come in? Where does the inner child even come in?
The inner child is with you all the time. It's with you all the time. Does everybody understand what I'm talking about when I say muscle testing? You're testing the coup or the low self, which is the same thing as the inner child. Okay, it's the same being. So when you're muscle testing, you're talking to that inner child. You with me?
Okay.
You don't have to make that distinction that you're allowing Renee access and you're allowing the inner child access, because the inner child is the one making the statement. You're just confusing him when you make that statement, because you don't need to make that statement. What you're doing when you're muscle testing is you're testing your inner child, or your coup, or unahipoli, or low self. Okay? You're testing that being, that subconscious being that is within you that makes things happen. This is what I used to call the being that makes things happen. This is the one that's running your life. If it's not allowing you access, conscious access, in other words, your access is available, yes. I allow Renee access, no. That means your inner child doesn't trust your adult. That's all it means. Your inner child doesn't trust your adult. So what you're going to do is, if you go back as an adult and try to save the inner child is just going to ignore you because it doesn't even know who you are. It's like, I don't know this guy. It's not going to pay any attention to you because you don't have access. And that's where a lot of therapies, where a lot of techniques fail, because a lot of people go back, let's talk to the inner child, and then they feel good about talking to the inner child, when the child basically is sitting there going like this, nothing happens. No changes made because you don't have access consciously. When I say I allow Renee access to change this program and it goes weak, that means consciously you cannot change this program, subconscious program. Okay? Yes.
Can I just clarify? The coup, low self, inner child, subconscious, they're all the same
Pretty much.
thing. That's what
Pretty much the same thing.
Okay.
I mean, there are shades of different, but for our purposes,
You're
we're not
talking
going to
about
get into
that same thing. Okay.
Okay, so the client does not have access. Okay, how do you differentiate when you ask to say mother, father, ancestors kind of thing versus finding that safe person?
Well, we're gonna do that.
So I jumped ahead.
Yeah, we're
Okay.
gonna, that's a good question, and it's a very valid one. And yes, I'm going to
Both
go over
statements
that.
are true. Access is available, and I allow Renee access. Then we
Right.
go through the procedure that you said. Go
Right.
the first time you remember feeling this.
Right.
Are you talking to the child during this one, or you talking to the child if there is no access?
Now, when you're muscle testing, go to the very first time you remember. You're talking both the adult and the child, but primarily
Because he
the
has
child.
access.
Primarily the child. If he has access, then yeah, it doesn't matter who you're talking to. Just go to the very first time you remember. May not be the first time you remember, the first time you remember feeling whatever that is. And so basically you're asking the conscious being, the person that you're talking to let go, so that the coup or the unahipoli or the low self can come in and remind him. Remember where the memory resides. The memory resides with the coup, with the subconscious being.
Okay.
So go back to the very first time you remember, and then you're inviting the coup to come in and take him to that place. You with me?
Okay.
So when the low self takes you to that place, then you're talking directly with the inner child, the low self, the coup. Okay?
Okay, so when Renee doesn't have access, we still ask where the decision is felt and go to the first time you remember feeling that in your body?
No.
No. Well, yeah, yes, we can go that far. Yes, we can go that far. But then we can't go back to the very first time because we don't know when the first time is, and chances are your low self won't tell you that because you don't have access consciously. Okay. What you do at that point, if, say, access is available, yes, Renee has access, no. Okay, we're at that point now.
Okay.
All right. What you want to do at that point is to find out. Close your eyes, Renee. Think back as a child. Who does that child trust more than anyone else in the whole universe? Anyone else in the whole world? Is there anyone that child trusts more than anyone?
The guy who gave me the bag.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's just say, for demonstration purposes, this is your grandmother.
Okay.
All right.
This
Let's
is
just
my
say,
grandma.
all right, your grandma. Okay, his grandma had access. Grandma has access to change this program, yes. Renee doesn't, but his grandma does. Okay? What you do is you ask for the person or the being or the guide who has access, and that could be an ancestor, it could be a relative. Usually it's a relative or a dog, favorite pet, or sometimes it's a stuffed animal, or sometimes it's a cartoon character or an angel, or I've even had God come in and sit on the throne. You know, there's all sorts of beings or entities or whatever. It's an archetypal image to the child. The child thinks in terms of archetypes, thinks in terms of specific beings. To a child, it's all real. So, well, Archangel Michael has access. Well, that's fine. Allow Archangel Michael to open the door, open the window, and go back to the very first time you remember feeling this. May not be the first time, but the first time you remember feeling this sensation. And Archangel Michael is there following you, and I'm behind Archangel Michael and helping guide the way. But Archangel Michael is there going back to the very first time. Let me know when you're there. So instead of you having access, someone else has access, who the inner child provides you and gives you that information. Now, let's suppose I have Renee has access. No, access available. Yes, Renee has access. No. Okay, second scenario. Who do you remember? Well, it's my grandma. Grandma has access. No. Anybody has access? No. 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 It's all no. What do you do then?
You're asking the conscious.
You give up and go home, right?
I'm going to say go to dinner.
Go to dinner. Now, if access is available, yes. Renee has access. No. You're just not finding out who has access, right? And your subconscious being, your child, is not telling you. It doesn't trust you even enough to tell you who has access. Because it doesn't trust you. It's got a real trust issue. Okay? And that's okay. What you can do is when I go into finding out whether or not this issue is yours. Does this issue even belong to you? Okay? If you start getting really strange answers, then chances are you're getting beyond the realm of the inner child and you're getting into another realm which I call ancestral, parental. Say you got a brother that's abusing or something, anything. It could be anything or anybody. But it belongs to someone else, perhaps. And I say perhaps because I don't really know yet until I test. And again, it could be grandma, it could be somebody else. But let's assume it's not telling you anything. Then access is available, yes. Renee has access. No, well, Renee may not know because it's not his stuff. You know what I'm saying? In which case, then you test, well, this belongs to my mother, my father, my ancestors. And then you test mother, father, ancestors. Find out if this stuff is mine, if it belongs to somebody else. It could be somebody you were spending the weekend with and you took all their stuff. Test them. Find out whose stuff it is. Did you take on somebody's stuff? By the way, we take on people's stuff all the time. We're psychic sponges, even the men. We take on stuff all the time. It's just the men tend to stuff it down. Women tend to just go crazy. But either way, we're always taking on people's stuff. So the first thing to check is I'm sorry. What?
You might want to rephrase it on the camera.
I want to rephrase it. Men are stupid, women are crazy. All right, we're going to write the book on that. Okay. Men push it down, women just go crazy. Okay, is that better?
Yes.
Okay, all right. That's basically the bottom line. Okay, men don't know how to express it, but they do know how to push it down.